In this video, we are going to talk about evaluating sources in different disciplines, specifically in the humanities. When evaluating sources in the humanities, it is important to understand the context and what types of sources you are expected to use for an assignment. Often, your professor will ask you to use at least one primary source in your assignment. For example, if you're looking for sources on how women have been portrayed through literature throughout history, you might want to consider types of sources. If you could find primary sources written at that time in history, these could be maybe written accounts, speeches, books, letters, and more. While these sources might not include references, they are great sources of information for what was happening at that specific time in that specific time period. The date of the sources in the humanities is very important, but it is a lot different than the date when we talk about it in the context of the hard sciences or the social sciences. The value of a source in the humanities could rely on date for credibility. For example, primary literature from the early 1900s might hold more credibility than an encyclopedia entry written in 2019. Again, knowing the context of what you are searching for and what your information need is incredibly important when evaluating sources. The author's proximity to the event is also very important when evaluating primary sources. If we think back to the childhood game telephone, the most accurate account of what the first person said was the account of that first person. By the fourth or the fifth person, the word or phrase had been changed over and over so that it did not even resemble what the first-hand account was. This is the same in primary sources. When we're evaluating primary sources in the humanities, the closer the author or subject's account is to the event or that time period, the more credibility their perspective could have. We often talk about bias in a negative way, but when we're talking about primary sources, bias can become a perspective of the author and can be valuable to discuss in your assignments. When you're reading a source, try to determine how bias is affecting the source and its findings, and how that bias will then affect your own use of that source in your assignment. Finally, when we are evaluating sources in the humanities, it is important that we do not discredit secondary or tertiary sources because they do not meet our assignment parameters, as they are still valuable to the scholarship surrounding the conversation. Secondary or tertiary sources can often include a reference to a primary source, a quote, or even a section of that primary work. When in doubt, for what types of information fits your unique information need or assignment parameters, ask your professor, or if you have any other questions, contact the Milne Library for help. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us here at the library.